Welcome in to Rover Sports, the show, and we are here, and it is Tuesday night. Got that one right. Tuesday night, and we are back here in studio. Tons to talk about on Rover Sports. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. For 10 seconds, hopefully you guys stick around for the entire hour and 15-minute show. Got Bruce the Sports Doc here. Got Charlie Bowles and Al Zafiri. Bruce, we could start off on a lot of topics. Right now, the topic that we were discussing before we went to air is AJ Bouye goes to the Broncos. They got a cornerback, and also breaking news that Tim Duncan will be an NBA head coach for just one night. Greg Popovich feeling under the weather, so Timmy Duncan is now going to be a head coach. I think that that's cool, just for tonight.
I think that's great. Tim Duncan's a classic Spur, and when little things like that happen, Pop is the kind of guy who will give them a chance, and I just think it's nice little accent.
It is indeed. And Bruce, when you start to look at these NBA standings, you have the Lakers, you have the LA Clippers, the Houston Rockets with Russell Westbrook. He's actually playing so much better because, I don't know if you've noticed, but they don't play with a center. Like Robert Covington is their biggest player. So do you think that that's sustainable, not having a center for the playoffs? Because that's kind of the new wave of basketball, is phasing out the center position.
I would say so. Looking at the Rockets, firstly, there's not many dominant centers in the league. You got Embiid, who's rarely healthy, doesn't play a lot, and you don't see too many skill centers in the league at all. But on the other hand, the big focus is on three-point shooting, and that's the teams that are winning. Even the Greek Freak, the really good players are three-point shooters. LeBron, and when you have very athletic players, like you've guys that are 6'5", 6'6", you could put one or two guys box out, and you don't need a 7-foot. You don't need a 7-foot center on defense. And on offense, you don't see a lot of low post play. So there's no reason the Rockets can't continue to do well, in my opinion. Charlie, what do you think about this trend towards smaller teams? Do you think this is going to continue, or do you think this is just the Rockets?
I think it depends on who you're up against. I think it depends on the other team's size, the other team's length, and the talent of the size and that length. I think it's worked for Houston in a very short sample size, but there are, again, I remember the second game against Phoenix. I was watching. I remember the team escaped me earlier, but Spencer reminded me it was Phoenix. They blew them out. I guess time will tell. I think it's a very new concept. My gut is going to say no. It won't work against a team like the Lakers or the Clippers. Or again, like I said, once tape is out, any good defensive coach is going to figure out how to stop it or how to exploit the weakness. Anything new, like I guess you can go back as far as that Eagles offense with Michael Vick when they played Washington that night. Eventually tape came out and that kind of slowed down. Right now it's all new, and I think teams are kind of confused by it all. But eventually there'll be enough tape where teams will be able to get it on film. They'll find the tendencies, and they'll slow it down. Houston's playing well regardless, and maybe it's helped them mentally because the talent's always been there. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So I guess – I don't think anyone can say for sure. I think I'm more of a kind of let's wait and see kind of guy on this. I wouldn't want to probably say it would work or say it doesn't, but my guess would be no in the long run.
And you know what? It's cyclical. And Charlie, you might not know if it works because say that they go to 6 versus the Lakers. That's not too bad of a season for Houston. They're supposed to lose in the second round. So it's hard to say if it wasn't really working before with Clint Capella. And if they go to the second round, you have the Clippers and the Lakers out west. I want to see the Clippers emerge from the Western Conference with Landry Shamet, with Kawhi and Paul George, and I think that this regular season should completely be devalued because the Clippers have just they just haven't been good for like the past month. They've been really shaky.
Well, it seems like Kawhi Leonard has kind of imposed his will on the Clippers now like he did Toronto, where they basically said anything you need, Kawhi. He kind of plays when he wants. He kind of sits when he wants. And I think that's the way the whole NBA is going. And they've kind of tried to address the problem. Silver's tried to say, look, this is not good for ticket sales. This is not good when someone spends their hard-earned money to see Kawhi Leonard come into your gym, and all of a sudden he decides to sit it out. Bruce, I'm curious to hear what you think, because I'm more of an old school guy like you, where Michael Jordan played every game, and I kind of think that's the way it should be. But I'm curious to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that one of the big players mentioned recently that the big thing that people don't even talk about is traveling and sleep deprivation, and that the NBA schedule, one of the biggest problems is they're always traveling and they don't get enough rest. And perhaps Kawhi, obviously he's at the game even when he's sitting out, but I think that's a big challenge. And Kawhi, certainly is a trendsetter. You've got certain guys, like the Greek Freak, he's such a young guy. And Ben Simmons, these guys don't need to sit out. They don't need load management. But I think load management seems like it's here to stay. It's going to continue. And it doesn't seem like it's Silver. And they also can have like some bogus fake injuries like knee tightness or back tightness. There's no way to prove that somebody doesn't have low back tightness. So I think that trend is going to continue. What Kawhi did last year, and it worked. And I personally like the Clippers. They're one of my favorite teams. I like almost every player. Love Landry. Kawhi, outside of the Sixers,
you know what it is?
He might be my favorite player.
You know what it is about Leonard, why, he's kind of hard to dislike, is just because he's such like a quiet kind of guy, and he's completely comfortable in himself right now, in his personality, and he's not very cocky or chauvinistic when he's playing. And I think he is really competitive. I think he cares. He definitely plays defense when he's in there. The solution is to make the NBA 50 games, to make it 50 games, because there's too many. The games are meaningless. There's so many crappy teams in the league. And if you made the game, if you shorten the season, ticket prices will still. So the thing is, Charlie, if you shorten the season, the players would complain then about money, but wouldn't tickets just be so much more expensive if you shorten the season? Wouldn't they still get revenue that way? Well, and the product would be so much better if the season was shortened, because college basketball, every game in the regular season is phenomenal. Even if the college players are not as skilled and they're missing shots, every possession is magnified because it's 40 minutes of life or death. And I just, that's why I like college basketball just so much more.
Well, the load management thing is kind of funny to me, because these guys play, 3 games a week? So if you really want to manage their rest on their days off, have them not show up at the gym.
And guess what? They've adjusted. They're not practicing anymore. It used to be so much worse. They completely reinvented the schedule, Charlie, just to support the athletes with the back-to-back. Like in the 90s or the early 2000s, these players have it great.
Yeah, we come from an age where pitchers throwing both ends of a doubleheader to pitchers, needing 3 days off after throwing consecutive days of 1 inning each. It's just a different. Really there's too much money in it now.
Well, baseball's really gotten ridiculous because, again, they made a new rule, I think, about pitching changes. They're trying to have less relievers coming in and warming up and doing all that. For a casual fan, especially a younger audience that has a shorter attention span, there's so many breaks in baseball. The games last so long, and to just bring in a reliever for one batter and right, left, and all this, and guys, who are starters like this, I love the complete game. When a guy's hot, you still take him out of 5, and you've got to go to a 7th, 8th, 9th reliever, and it's just it's a copycat league. So obviously we switched. Let me just make a comment.
Yeah,
there's no way. With the revenue in basketball, there's no way they're going to go from 82 games to 50 games. That's fantasy, Spencer. It's not going to happen. Maybe
60?
Listen. No, I think if they cut it to 72, that would be a drastic change. And there's no reason they have to, because there's a lot of money. Let's face it, ticket sales, the tickets are getting expensive. Even though the Sixers went through tanking, we haven't won anything. They keep raising ticket prices every year. Charlie Ball's here. I always read his Facebook posts. Great posts. And you just got, and I'm a season ticket holder, and I don't probably read my mail as much as you do. So tell us about what the Sixers are doing with ticket prices.
The Sixers ticket prices have gone up 70% since 2016.
Well, 70%.
70. They're up,
and that's in 4 years.
Yep, they're up. They're up another close to 20% next year, 18%, 17%, something like that. And they're going to get it. They look last year. I have decent seats right behind the bench, 3-point line, 14th row. There's only one section. I'm only 5 rows from the center court, and I always have wanted to sit right at center court. And they're like, 95% of the people renew. You're not. There's no available seat. So
you can't move to the middle.
This may be the year where if they don't go far, the tickets are getting so ridiculous. Like for 2 seats, when I first started in 2016, it was $10,000. Now it's close to $18,000 for the same 2 seats. So eventually, they're going to price people out that even really kind of have the money but don't want to spend it. Like there's a lot of things you can do with $20,000. I mean, I do it as a legacy thing for my son. I want him to have everything I never had as a kid.
So you hold the 2
I'll
seats
hold it, yeah.
because you're waiting for your son
I'm waiting for my
to
son
grow
to join
into
me,
being
yeah.
your buddy,
Yeah.
kind of like what I had. You grow your own best friend.
Yeah, like granted, I love my wife being there, and I hope she can go to every game. But eventually, I think she even wants to kind of see, and I would love them too to go to games. And it's just that my dad struggled so hard with his kids, and we always made it to what we wanted to go to. But I knew it was a struggle, and I appreciated that, and that even gave me a greater appreciation of wanting to do it for my son. And that's why I'll probably hold on to him despite me being angry.
Charlie, the fact, how many games out of 40 do you go to?
30?
If you got rid of even the routine of you going and getting out of the house and going down to the center and getting Chickies and Pete's or hanging out with all the fans, it's just a great experience going down to watch NBA basketball.
Well,
I just ragged on NBA basketball, but even games when it's a blowout, come on, it's fun watching NBA basketball and having. I think that it's a great thing.
When I first got the tickets, I lived 5 minutes from the arena. Now I'm a 45-minute ride, so it has changed a little bit. I didn't have a child. Now I have a child. It was just my wife and I. We'd go right down to the game, hang out, make a night of it. Things have changed. Now it's get there and try to get home as early as humanly possible. But yeah, I can't see me giving up the tickets. I just can't. I can't say.
Yeah, it's just like
you guys the same.
Yeah, I'd say the same. And again, I've had Eagles season tickets in my family. So there's 3 brothers, parents, grandchildren, and we've always had a lot of seats. And my wife doesn't identify with the reason why guys would even go to the game. And she's saying, why don't you sell it? And I told her, number one, to have our great seats where we are. And for me, I'd much rather go to these games. There's only 8 games, and it's really very special that I don't care. I'd rather take less of a vacation, buy less clothes. For me, and to have to already have the PSLs, and to imagine losing them and having to reacquire them, and just be able to go with Spence and go with friends.
Bruce.
So I know I'm ranting.
Bruce,
yes.
I'm sorry, but continue. Finish your fault.
You just chopped up my answer. So now continue.
That was cold.
I thought
you.
I thought you were getting to the end.
I wasn't, but continue.
No, it's your turn. No, I didn't.
That's all I was going to say. Go right ahead.
Oh, so there it comes. There it comes out. So he said he was in the middle of a rant. He then ragged on me for finishing the rant, and then he said I interrupted him.
You said Bruce.
No, Al. He framed me in that argument, Charlie.
I lost my train of thought, but when you just called my name twice.
Charlie, Bruce just called me out for interrupting him, and I said, finish your rant. And he said, I have nothing to add. So the rant was already over.
Well, I pulled a little Joe Biden. I thought it was Super Thursday, and I thought I was in the wrong state.
All right.
And may he win but let's not even get into politics.
Yeah,
may he be the Democratic nominee. But I would never talk about politics ever in Rover Sports, but may he be the Democratic nominee.
That's the sound of people changing their dials if they don't like Joe Biden.
Yeah, if they don't like Joe.
And he doesn't speak for everybody on the show. I choose to keep it private at all times, unless I was locked in a room and somebody was...
Start beating you with with a wet noodle or something.
I don't want to know what you do locked in a room. So let's just move on from that conversation.
All right. The thing is so I'm going to make an argument to you about the PSLs, and this argument's a lot more comfortable than talking about Joe Biden or whatever's going on.
Yeah.
The argument I'm going to say to you is that the New Orleans Pelicans, they were the most boring team ever to watch, maybe in the whole NBA. Before they had Zion Williamson, I'm trying to even think who they had. They had Anthony Davis, but then they just had crap around him. Like they had Jody Meeks and they had nobody. It was Anthony Davis and a bunch of scrubs. So that ticket was so dead in New Orleans. It's a football town anyway. So the reason to keep your tickets, Charlie, even if the Sixers go downward on a downward spiral, you could always draft a generational talent in a Zion Williamson. Imagine if you got to watch Zion every night. Or imagine if Steph Curry ended up on your team. There's always a chance that your team could get the next Steph Curry. So that's why you got to keep the season tickets.
Right. Well, this is an argument. I must tell you, there's times I was very tempted to just not up the season tickets. The Andrew Bynum year was probably my most angry moment.
Yours and many.
I won't mention the name of the orthopedic surgeon, but he's a mainline orthopedic surgeon.
Let's give hints.
No, he's a mainline. He's a great surgeon. He used to be one of the Sixers orthopedic surgeons, not anymore. But he told me at the beginning of the year that when they drafted Andrew, when they traded for Andrew Bynum, or they acquired him, whatever they did, that his knee had microsurgery, microfracture. Now, there's not one person I have ever seen with microfracture surgery where they drill holes in the knee. That Jeff Rowland, if you remember, had that, never came back. And he said that Bynum is definitely done. And you listen to the Sixers, they built their whole season ticket drive about Andrew Bynum, knowing he would never play. And also every month there would just be Bynum is coming back. So it made me lose trust in the Sixers ownership. The Sixers, unfortunately, in my opinion, have gained value. They've gained so much value in the team, and they haven't won anything. And they bring in Elton Brand, and it was just, they waited a long time, and then they bring in the easy pick. And the problem now is Elton Brand is so young, and him and Brett Brown are like, they're tied together, like as part of, like they're in a barrel. And if you throw one overboard, they're both going to drown. So I don't think that Elton Brand has the gravitas
You're not hurting my feelings.
To fire. I don't think he has the gravitas to fire Brett Brown. And the one thing I heard that
he's made
I haven't liked Brett Brown a lot, but the fact that I don't know if this is true or this is just media buzz, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. He locked himself in seclusion for 72 hours around the All-Star break and then came out with a definite plan and met with each player and decided how they were going to fit in. Now, for me, that showed an unusual brain power for a guy who's been a mental midget since the beginning. Al, let's go around. What did you think of that? Was that real? And what effect do you think that's had?
It's a very good question. I'm a little off because I was fixing that stuff. But I'm sorry, I think he's breathing. I'm trying to fix it.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
You know my feelings on Brett Brown. That has been...
that's well established.
And now my feelings with Elton Brand kind of fall now into the same category because, like you said, they are kind of tied. They're tied at the roots there, and I can't fathom the thought process that went into the year, that from the get-go, like where they thought getting Al Horford and paying for what they paid for Al Horford. It's not just getting Al Horford for what you paid for Al Horford, for what you paid for Tobias Harris, for what you did. Everything from the get-go made zero sense. Like it was almost like I'm pushing my chips in, but I'm holding a 7 and a 4 off suit in my hand. It makes no sense on what they were doing. Like they got backed into the corner when they were pretty much told by the guy they wanted that he didn't want to be here, and then you got a team. You got a team that it has no identity now, continues not to have an identity, will not have an identity with who's running it. And now everybody's just trying to reach for like a Shake Milton to tie to and ride his coattails a little bit. Why Ben Simmons? Still haven't heard anything new on him, so I'm guessing.
Yeah, why don't we hear I don't mean to chop up your answer. Yeah. And I was just having fun with Spence there.
Yeah.
Of course, we always like to rib. People know that we've known each other a while, so we could certainly rib each other.
A few years.
But God, what was I saying?
You're
Shake Milton, and then
I think you're chopping yourself.
No, I'm chopping myself up. It is the thing that's really surprising. You mentioned Ben Simmons. Why have we not heard what the MRI of his back shows? It's never.
I think Charlie has the best answer for that.
No, I know. I want to. He's going to roll around.
Yeah.
The point is, in there's full disclosure. Okay, they're saying he has an impinged nerve root, inflamed nerve root, whatever. But tell us what the damn MRI shows. Does it show a disc bulge? Is there a herniation? Is there a free fragment? One level, multiple levels? Is there a hairline fracture? There could be anything. Is there advanced degenerative joint disease for a 22-year-old? The fact that they're not even giving us the result of the MRI is in keeping with the Sixers ownership, who knew Andrew Bynum would never play at all, but yet refused to disclose that to the fans, despite raising ticket prices 70% in 4 years when they haven't won a darn thing, as you were saying.
No, you said it right there. It continues to be this disconnect from upper management to and when I say upper management, I would always say the head coach kind of floats somewhere in limbo. There's the team, there's upper management, and then the coach kind of floats between between there somewhere.
Yeah.
I've said it numerous times. I'll continue to say it. We will not win. The Sixers will not win outside of just the team rallying around themselves with Brett Brown at the helm. Elton Brand has stamped his card with what he's done in the offseason, into the season, back this team into a corner for at least, 3-4 years?
But I do have a question, okay?
Sure.
So if Toby ends up – so if you end up – Jimmy Butler wanted to go to Miami. I think he wanted to go there since his Minnesota days because it's South Beach. He loves Pat Riley. He idolizes Pat and Spoelstra and the Heat culture. And for Jimmy Butler, he could be the star in Miami. So if you lose Jimmy Butler, Charlie, and you don't sign Toby Harris and you don't sign Al Horford, you have a lot more money to spend. But where are you? Your team then is still bad. That's not a solution.
No different to where you're at right this second.
You're
Different.
No, Toby makes this team better.
Let me ask you a question. If this team just was not that good this year, maybe made the playoffs, didn't make the playoffs, but lost in the first round, but didn't have the Tobias Harris contract, didn't have the Al Horford contract, would it be much different to you?
I think that the Sixers, without Tobias Harris and Al Horford, would be a 7 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I think that they wouldn't have a chance to win a series at all.
Do you think they have a chance now?
If Ben and Embiid are back, I think it'll be a very competitive first-round series.
Okay, that's great.
And
do you give parades down Broad Street for first round wins?
But I think that I think it's 15 wins with Toby and Al Horford better. Maybe 10.
I disagree. Charlie, I know has some strong opinions on that one.
10.
Let Charlie voice his opinions.
So would the fan base be happy with losing Toby and Al Horford and going from the second round of the playoffs to then losing in the playoffs?
You know what?
And then there's no guarantee that you're going to.
Charlie.
No, that's fine. Good.
I said there's no guarantee you're going to get a free agent. I'm done, though. I'm done. I'll let you guys converse.
I want to hear Charlie.
I'm out.
I want to hear his opinion.
I'm more interested in giving a political update right now. Joe Biden has been called the winner in Virginia, by the way, just so everyone knows.
Very good.
Back to
and let's vote for
Tobias Harris.
I'm going to do a little golf clap for democracy and
Bernie
moderacy.
Sanders has won Vermont. No shake up there. No shock. Tobias Harris is a nice third option.
Political correspondent
is a third option on a good team. That's what he is. They pay him like he is a superstar, and maybe that's not his fault. Maybe it's the Sixers' fault for paying him.
100%.
He's a Greek god. He's a Greek god.
How many guys can you throw a dart at that average 18 and 6? Like most of the league. Yeah. Most don't get paid as much as he does.
I always ask everybody this question. Who else would have maxed out Tobias Harris?
Nobody.
Nobody. And listen, I have an interesting perspective. My friend Kevin Finn, he's from Syosset, Long Island, my college roommate, and he played center at Lehigh. Back in those days, 6'8" was a good size. Kevin actually grew up in Long Island
with the fruit baskets as a basket.
Yeah. But Kevin,
he was
not the tallest guy in his family.
There was no 3-point line.
His brother Joe Finn.
I remember that.
His brother Joe Finn, 6'10" from Fairfield. But in any event, he remembers Tobias Harris in Long Island, and what he remembers is that his dad was such a complete jerk. That his dad was a jerk, and that Kevin, was so obvious. So a lot of times, you got certain people like LeVar Ball, and you got Harris's dad. And Harris's dad shopped him around to 8 different franchises before some idiots for the Sixers gave his son a max deal. No, yeah, the last game, yeah, he 25 points. I think he's a nice guy, but he's not a max player. He's not. He's an intermediate player. So to answer your question, I bet if you polled knowledgeable basketball fans, season ticket holders like ourselves, I would say 95%. Okay, we have a call. I'm just saying 95% of people, if I didn't see Toby Harris or Al Horford in their contracts were gone, I'd be very, very happy about it. Let's take the call.
We have a call, and I was
Hello?
Yes, I was offended about LeVar Ball, by the way. But anyway, let's answer the call. Welcome in the Rover Sports.
Hi, my name is AJ. I am a diehard fan of the Baltimore Ravens, and I was shocked to see the trade go down with the Broncos and Jaguars today. The AJ Boye trade.
Oh my gosh, I know. So are you? So fill us in on AJ Boye, because I knew he played in Houston. I think in Jacksonville he was pretty solid as well.
Yeah, he was definitely.
What's AJ?
He was definitely number 2 corner behind Jalen Ramsey. He was really good in Jacksonville.
So what? Do you know what the Jags got back in compensation?
4th round pick, I think.
Yeah, 4th round pick.
Wow. Now, I think Boye, that's kind of a low value, I think, for a really good corner, but I think AJ's making a ton of money, and I think AJ might be near 30 years old. I think he's an older corner. Is that kind of why it's a 4th-round pick? It seems like the Broncos won the deal. Is that right, AJ?
Yeah, I think the Broncos got a steal. They found their successor to Chris Harris Jr., and all they had to give up was the same amount that they gave up for Joe Flacco, a 4th-round pick.
I really do love it. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that Drew Lock and Pat Shurmur are going to be able to elevate the Broncos to getting to the playoffs next year?
I see wild card, but I don't think they're going to win the division. Not with Kansas City rebounding.
Pat Shurmur is a great coordinator. Not a great head coach, but a great coordinator.
Agreed. Not a great head coach. He's dead twice in Giants in Cleveland, but he's a really good offensive coordinator. He should have like Drew Lock to get the Broncos probably at the 5th or 6th seed. However, the UFC is going to be really tight.
What are you hearing as a Ravens fan? What are you hearing they're targeting in the draft?
I'm thinking probably either Kenneth Murray or
great linebacker
or Justin Jefferson. Both really big needs.
Yeah, 2 different. Yeah, fits. I mean, I agree with you on Jefferson for sure. I think that would be a great pickup. Murray's got a lot of speed. I think. And look, either will fit. Look, Murray's a classic linebacker for today's NFL, and obviously the kid from Clemson will be long gone by then. So he would be a great fit. Again, that's where the NFL is morphing into linebackers who can kind of shift and play multiple positions. He fits that. Definitely. And Jefferson as well is, again, something that Baltimore definitely needs.
Especially the fact they want us to get a receiver to complement Hollywood Brown.
Yep.
Besides Mark Andrews or Hayden Hurst.
I mean, that team.
I want us to add someone else.
That team with Jefferson. I mean, obviously more speed. They got to use. Aren't they going to leverage one of those tight ends eventually and try to get something? For one. I think isn't Hurst on the trading block?
Hurst
as well. Because they're so loaded at tight end, you figure they'll leverage one of those guys eventually and try to improve somewhere else.
Well, we got Andrews and then Boyle, and then we're probably going to take Charles Scarf probably off the practice squad.
They've made it work. They've made 3 tight ends very happy and very popular.
Well, first of all, you have Hollywood Brown. He's a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, but they've been able to utilize all 3 of those tight ends.
I
to keep them
think
happy.
You got to get a great linebacker, and I think Murray, by the way, absolute steal. Murray is already almost married. Plays the game of golf. He's a very cerebral guy. He's from Houston,
Who knows
Texas.
this information? You know more information about him.
Thank God.
He's almost
married.
He's almost married.
What is that? Is that good or bad?
That changes everything.
Great. He reminds me of MJ, okay? He has a villain streak on the field, and then off the field, he lives a very private life. He reminds me of Michael Jordan. He's the Michael Jordan of NFL players.
Oh, my God.
By the way, Kenneth Murray is the most confident guy.
Another phone call?
But, if I was going to pick between Murray or Patrick Queen, I'd take Murray, not landslide.
Exactly right.
There's no competition.
Hey, what is your name again, sir?
Over Patrick Queen.
What is your name again, sir?
AJ.
It's just like AJ Boye. I thought I was calling you AJ Boye, but this was a really fun call, very insightful call. Thank you so much, man.
So I want to tell everybody, thanks again, AJ. We are live, and a lot of times people are streaming us, so look at our call-in number there. Al, what's our call-in number?
It's 484-257-9592. It's 484-257-9592.
We got 10 people at all times. We got a lot of really cool people joining. Dr. Jose Castro, Adrian Lynch, John Brown. Everybody log in to Rover Sports.
Look at Penn State. I mean, I never knew Penn State had basketball. I mean, they're smashing Tom Izzo. It's funny. The best teams in basketball in the Big Ten, the Illini are good again. Rutgers basketball, going to make the tournament. It's unbelievable how these teams are usually awful or actually relevant in college basketball. And that leads me to a little college basketball talk. We got the tournament in a couple of weeks, Charlie, and I think it's going to be a very fun tournament. You have Baylor. You're going to have San Diego State and Gonzaga that are going to be at the top. You have Dayton with Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think that this year, the tournament, every year we say it's wide open when we say the bubble's really soft. How excited are you for this tournament, and what teams do you think have a shot to be in Atlanta for the Final Four?
Well, there's nothing better than on Thursday at 11:30 a.m. going down to the Houndstooth and firing up the TVs for the first 5 or 6 games. But
you're right. It's always that Princeton game, isn't it, Charlie?
Wide open is an understatement. I mean, I'll tell you what. I feel more confident about teams ranked 10 through 20 than almost 1 through 5. I mean, I'm not going to have Dayton and San Diego State in my Final Four. There's no way. They're not good enough, and they're not going to get there. You know, they're taking advantage of soft schedules and soft conferences. I mean, you line up Dayton against Kentucky, and you're going to tell me you're going to take Dayton? I mean, I think I don't understand.
There's no Dayton bashing on this show.
I don't understand what's going on with these.
We got to clip this if Dayton gets to the Final Four.
I bet
We're going to do a meme of Dayton.
Yeah, we got to clip this.
I stay with who. Look, I bet Louisville before the season started, and good or bad, I'll ride them out. But if you're asking me who the team of the week is in the last 2 weeks, Kentucky to me is sitting back and no one's talking about them. And I just think they're sitting now at number 6 and they're playing their best ball of the year. And watch out.
It's because Cal's a snake. And it's interesting. Kentucky lost to Evansville, and Evansville's coach got left, and they're like one of the worst teams in the country. But Kentucky is absolutely defensively, Bruce. They're a great team. They have 3 guards. Nick Richards, an absolute beast down low. I agree with you. I think Kansas, one of the best point guards in the country. Bill Self, but Bruce. The Creighton Jays, I really hope that they can make a Sweet 16 for the first time ever.
Yep, certainly look at Creighton since the great times, with Doug McDermott and all those wonderful guys, Ethan Ragbong Raggy. It looks like Coach McDermott really has a good team. They've got Anderson, they've got Zagorowski, and they had one bad game. They've had a great season, and they went to St. John's in a small gym, and St. John's just shot the lights out, 60% from 3, and the Jays were just off. But I really think the Jays have a chance to win the Big East. I don't think there's a great team in the Big East, and there's no doubt that we'll be pulling for them.
If I can have one day, like one day to replicate like a Groundhog Day scenario, I would choose Thursday of March Madness because I love seeing what everybody's bracket is. And in school, it was impossible to focus in school when March Madness was on. And you know what? I wouldn't even like when teachers would show you March Madness because they only showed you 1 game instead of 4, and they teased you.
Well,
it's
you lived a rough life.
But here's
you had a terrible school.
But here's the thing.
Where did you go to school?
Let me argue. This is kind of a hot.
Where they actually showed NCAA basketball.
This is a hot take, Al.
Here we go.
There was that nice teacher that would show one game. Okay, in
Usually
class.
your phys ed teacher or your science teacher.
The science teacher.
Or
That
your
was
wood
cool.
shop
the
teacher.
stoner science teacher.
Yes.
And it was cool, but you must have been thinking, we're not doing anything in class. I could be home right now, and I could be, flipping games and going crazy and having a
Well, here, I'm going to show you how old I am. I went to private school, so we had to wear the sweaters until June, which was awesome.
Is it the wooden basket 6'8" days when 6'8"
Not
used to
there,
be tall?
close enough. But what we would do is I'd get the little transistor radio, put it in my pocket, run the little earbud up my sleeve, and rest my hand on my desk. Like
So you'd be able to listen to the game on this transistor radio?
until you go, oh yeah, and then your coach.
Sounds like a good way to get.
Your teacher looks at you and goes, "Al, give me the radio."
Sounds like a good way to get electrocuted.
I went. Oh well, it's a battery operated thing. I don't think.
Yeah, you don't think you get electrocuted. Is that why you're not an electrical engineer, Spence?
We
running it up.
You used to be able to go to like a dollar store and pick up little transistor radios like that to listen to the games. Because actually, back in the day, like, I don't think you got many of the beginning tournament games on TV. I mean, you had some of the bigger names because you had ESPN, maybe ESPN2, ABC, CBS, whoever's playing it. But that was it. You didn't have a ton of sports channels like you do now, where you can watch every game, even the no-name games in the beginning.
And you could tell that people in their class were watching too, based on their eyes.
Well, you had 6 guys scattered throughout the room with their heads in their hands, just listening and like passing notes back and forth.
If you did it, you had passing notes. If you didn't have the team, you'd be like, screw you, man. You're gonna lose this
Or you
game.
get mad, like, because you just like the girl or the guy next to you to tilt their head a little bit because it's interfering with your reception.
Yeah,
that was the other thing I had a problem.
I wasn't passing notes to other guys. I was passing notes to girls back in high school. I was passing notes to girls and actually getting girlfriends and relationships.
You were doing that during on the Thursday of March Madness?
No, I'm kidding about it ever. I never did that
my
ever.
BS
and on
meter,
Thursday would be a
My
sacrilege.
BS meter is going.
You're right. You know what? I've been caught. I was passing notes. I actually don't know. I wasn't passing notes, but I would have been too. I don't know if I would pass notes to other. I would probably just text. And then when the teacher would say, when you said, "Yeah, what a play," you would say, "Oh, I'm just excited about this Spanish lecture you're talking about," or the science
I told
lecture.
you I used to go to the dollar store and buy the radios, and I went through about $10 worth of them, and they were $1 a piece. So.
You know what's interesting, Bruce? The Masters is not shown on TV until 3 o'clock. Do you think if the NCAA tournament was not shown on TV, it would kind of almost be the allure? We would get the radios back. It would kind of almost be interesting. Every game is on the Turner networks now. You have TBS. You always have. Do you like those really late games, Charlie, where you're exhausted from watching basketball? It's the 14 versus the 3. You're like, I'm gonna get excited about this upset. The 14 seeds winning in the first 10 minutes. That's what always happens every year, Bruce. The upset team is up early, and you're like, Penn's going to beat Kansas. And then in the second half.
Though. Listen, in my opinion,
what?
That's the best thing. In other words, you start at noon and you go till the end. In those games, those late games, it's just like if you're a basketball fan.
It psychs you out, though, because in the second half, the cream rises and the favorite runs away from
it. It doesn't matter. I still love watching the tournament. I want to get every bit of every game. Charlie, I'm sure you're the same exact way.
I'm going back to way before the 2 days you were talking about the best day. You said the best day was the first. Mine would be week 2 of the college football season when all the good games really start and you have a slew of games on. But I had a question. Is this the year? Will this be the year that Villanova's number 8 lowest seed of all time or highest seed of all time to win a national championship gets challenged because of all the parity?
I personally, I just don't think Villanova's that good this year. And I don't think they're going to win the national championship.
Villanova in the 1980s.
In 85, they were an 8 seed. They were the highest seed ever.
Oh, right.
To win a national
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about this Villanova
because
team.
of all the parity. Is this a year a 9 seed?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question
Charlie,
right.
The other teams were Kemba Walker and Shabazz Napier. Like those UConn teams were also pretty highly seeded. Go ahead. You understand the question.
No, I understand the question. I think it's possible. But there's always a team that's going to come out as Cinderella. And the one, Loyola of Chicago, I guess it was, that was certainly a fun team. When Butler was playing Duke, I love to see, And I remember Spencer was crying.
Yeah.
And you were physically crying.
Tell the listeners that story.
Yeah. So the fact is, it was
when Matt Howard lost that championship game, I cried out, and I was crying in the pillows, and I was inconceivable, and I was
inconsolable. Also,
I was only
you're also inconceivable.
I was only 17, but I was young.
Painful.
But Al, I was young. I was only 17.
He was only 17.
I was only 17.
So,
at the time.
but what were you?
Listen,
But what were
sports
you
is
saying about
emotional.
Matt Howard?
But
the funniest
it's
thing
more
when you were-
emotional in college because Butler went to 2 championship games and they're going to the grave without a title.
So what
But
about
in
Matt?
pro sports, you never have to retire. In college basketball, when you're a senior, it is over. It is over.
Tell us about Matt Howard. You said Matt Howard is never going to play another game. He's going to go to his grave without a national championship.
I think you duplicated it perfectly.
I think I said it right.
I have nothing to
I hit the
add.
high
Hold on,
pitch
hold on.
too.
I concur.
Many great players will go to their grave without a national championship.
Charles
And there's many players
Marino,
who have a national
Barkley.
There's many players that have a national championship who never really made it out in the NBA. So
or who did nothing, like who were on the bench. But
Yeah.
you're right, like Vince Young, right? Let's think of another example of college. Shabazz Napier. Who's a great college player who never... Matt Leinart.
Liner's a big one there.
But Leinart was
That's a
great
good- that's
in
a good name.
college. Leinart was great.
This guy that everybody thought was going to come out, Johnny Football. There's
How about
another-
the Penn State quarterback, Gino? What's his last name? Years ago, he was a quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. Gino somebody.
Toretta from Miami?
Gino.
No, it's Miami. That's who it was.
Gino Toretta.
Gino Toretta basically didn't even sniff. They knew he was too slow, but there are certain people who are just great college players that don't amount to anything in the
Danny
NFL.
Danny Warfels probably the top 3 college quarterbacks of all time, and he's never made it in the NFL. If you look at his college career, it was probably behind Tommy Frazier and maybe some of these more recent guys. Now it's become a passing league. Danny Warfel, to me, was him and Tommy Frazier were the 2 best college quarterbacks I'd ever seen growing up.
Datmer was good. Doug Flutie. Colt Brennan of Hawaii.
Timmy Chang.
Yeah.
And Tommy Chang also. Cheech and Chong.
Oh, man. So we're here with Bruce. We're here with Charlie Bowles. We're having a great time on Rover Sports.
So Spencer, I'm going to take an intermittent because there's a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
lead
words.
the topics because,
This is
again,
one.
we're trying to figure out our topics.
I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Love it. I'm in the mood for
It's
hot
super.
takes.
It's Super Tuesday.
Oh, no.
No, yes.
No.
I'm gonna
You're gonna
demand
tie
this.
me up.
I'm gonna tie you up. It's Super Tuesday, everybody. We are gonna talk sports.
That's actually child abuse.
But listen to this.
Technically.
But listen to this. It's Super Tuesday.
I'm not coming.
We're only talking about Democratic
I
candidates.
plead the fifth.
No, but I
plead
want to
the
hear
fifth.
you. But everybody wants to hear your impressions of some of these.
How about I'll
political-
talk about sports as
No.
political figures?
Well,
That's the political
But I
figures.
want you to talk about the
Fine.
positions.
Fine.
I just want to hear for 1 minute. Let's hear.
Fine.
I want his.
I'll do a
let's-
Bernie Sanders. Shake Milton. Shake Milton should be getting paid the same amount of money as Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. There shouldn't be any income inequality with NBA basketball players. Everyone should be making the same amount of money in the NBA basketball.
How about Mike Bloomberg? Amazing Mike Bloomberg. Let's hear this.
Yeah, why are you doing this to me?
Because I just want to.
Why are you doing this?
I want to hear Bloomberg.
Why?
Why not?
No one thinks it's funny, and you're
I think
just
it is.
propping me up for no
No,
reason.
let me hear Mike Bloomberg, and then we'll let you go.
It's not my fault.
Let me hear.
Well, I'm happy to be in studio here with you guys and being able to talk about sports and being able to run for president of the United States. And I really think that if we beat, I
Is that
really
Mike
think
Tyson or Mike Bloomberg?
no.
I was actually going to say, was that
Stop,
the,
I'm not done.
Was that the Water
I
Boy?
really think that I can beat Donald Trump in a general election, and I have the power. And I was the mayor of New York after 9/11, and we cleaned up our economy, and I've funded a lot of Democratic campaigns, and all the all of the excuse me, Elizabeth, excuse all of the disclosures, not disclosures. That's part of business.
Okay, that's good.
That
I
was
won't
good.
torture you
I think I
anymore.
did that. I
That
think
was
I
good.
did well with
You finished
Blue
up
Bird.
strong. In the beginning, it was Mike Tyson. After he ran his card to the tree with
I thought it
Robin
was
Givens.
Waterboy at first when you first got him there.
You make me happy.
Yeah.
Let me hear the water boy.
You make me happy, and also, what is there? Mama said.
The mama said that crocodiles have nice teeth because they don't have no toothbrush.
They don't have no
Toothbrush.
How good is the Waterboy movie?
One of the best
I
top
would say-
10 sports movies.
Now you're getting out of hand there. That's just out
No,
of
you
hand
think
by
it's
saying that.
listen,
It's junk
Top-
food.
top
It's a
five.
junk food movie.
Are we gonna cut the clips of the improv?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it all over social media for you.
No, I mean cut it from existence.
how about this one? Elizabeth Warren. This is a great.
Well, I was here in studio, and I had to talk about these. Charlie's gonna leave.
Charlie's gonna leave.
You know what?
It
He's
crossed
so,
my mind.
you know, Charlie's so into his bets, though. He's not even caring. He's not even
Charlie
caring,
bets.
luckily.
So Spence
Well, yeah.
got a few. So what are
Can
we
we
looking
get back
at?
to normalcy?
So there's a question from Lisa from Reading,
Let's get back to
and
normal.
we're going around the horn.
I'm never going to listen to
Is-
this back, so I don't care. I
So
don't
listen
care.
to this
I frankly
question.
don't care.
Big question. Sixers question. So everybody, Dr. Sean McMillan, a lot of these
about
people,
Shake- this is about
they
Shake
didn't
Milton?
expect to hear Super
It's
Tuesday.
about Shake Milton.
Shake and Bake Milton.
Let's talk about Shake.
I want
Let's
to talk
get
about Shake.
that
So
out.
Al, question is Shake a flash in the pan, or do you see him as a star is born? What are your thoughts about Shake? I want to go around the horn on this one. Shake and Bake Milton.
It being scientific, I don't have a sample size to answer that question. I mean, everybody. I think the fan base of Philadelphia is looking for something to hook themselves into when you have no Embiid, no Ben Simmons on the court. Even with losing Richardson, I mean, you got nothing to look at. Everybody's been blasting Tobias Harris and Al Horford, so they're your other top players on the team. So no, you don't. I can't say that. I mean, I think he's going to be good. I don't think he'll be a flash in the pan per se, but I'm not ready to give him superstar quality to his name just yet.
Spence.
Well, I think Shake is very good. The problem is that when Toby or when these other guys come back, his role will be marginalized. He will always be a bench player in this league. He will never average more than 15 points a game in this league because he's a second-round pick. He has average size. He's not very fast. And anybody can have two good shooting games. Let's see him do it over a bigger span. Right now, it's a poverty right now, the only reason he's doing this is because of inflation with the roster. Because of these injuries, his usage rate is way, way up. But when the big dogs come back, like Simmons and Embiid, he'll be phased out again. And especially with Brett Brown, he's the king of completely butchering his starting lineup. So if a guy has a great game, he'll just bench him the entire game. Like Feibel could play 38 minutes one night and play 10 the next. And there's no rhyme or reason with Brett Brown and with Shake Milton. What do you think?
Charlie,
about
what do you
Shake?
think of Shake? You saw that game. You probably watched it.
I did. I think time will tell. Remember, Cormas was averaging 30 points a game over those 2-game stretch and couldn't throw the boat in the water. Couldn't throw the ball in the water off a boat ever since. I think Milton was extremely impressive. I think he's, if Brett, by the way, when Brett Brown had that 72 hours, he went to Shake Milton and told him that you will not be part of this rotation going forward. You will not play. You will assume a bench role. Shows how much our coach does know. This guy does come out to be a superstar. I think, like I said, it wouldn't shock me if he ended up being a serviceable player in the league. I kind of think he's a little bit of each. I think he's got potential, and I think you got to give it. He's in his second year in the league. You have to give it another year just to kind of find out where he's. And I don't even know if he knows where he fits. I don't think it's on this team. I think he may need to trade him to flourish.
I really hope it works. And Charlie, you talked about why the Miami Heat, why you think the Heat are going to win the NBA title. Can you talk about why you think the Heat are going to beat the Bucks in the playoffs?
Yeah, let's hear about that.
I don't know if they're going to beat the Heat. I think they have everything the Heat do. I mean, what did the Heat do? What do you say about the Bucks? At the beginning of the year, I bet the Bucks at the beginning of the year they're winning to win the title over the Lakers, over the Clippers, because of their bench was one of the examples. Well, look at Miami's bench. Miami has a bunch of veterans. as well. Look how Milwaukee addressed the 3-point shot with Korver and Ilyasova and Hill, and look what Miami may have the best tandem in the NBA in 3-pointers between the two kids.
Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson.
Look, Miami plays defense. Miami has a go-to superstar. Everything Milwaukee possesses, Miami has as well. Miami has 2 victories over them this year. Doesn't mean much. But at the end of the day, if it comes down to a series, Miami already knows they can play with them and can beat them. I always look for value. At the end of the day, Milwaukee's the favorite. If I'm going to get 40-1 on a team that I think is just as good, I'm going to jump on the 40-1 shot all day.
And you know who's the X factor in this whole league? Is a guy that can maybe compete with the Greek Freak, and that is the NBA's most improved player, Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, he held the Greek Freak to 6 for 18 last night. And maybe you could say the Freak was tired. You could make up excuses all day if you want, but the bottom line is, I think if you go roster for roster, I think Miami matches up. Everyone said the Sixers matched up really well with Milwaukee, and they kind of do match up well with Milwaukee. But I think at the end of the day, Miami's roster matches up really well with Milwaukee.
I'm going to give you a sleeper team, the Boston Celtics, because I look at Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's a superstar. He's probably the top 8 player in this league. He's going to ascend to the top 5. He scores at every single level of the floor. They get Kemba Walker back. They have Brown, Tatum, Marcus Smart. Hayward might be pretty good in the playoffs. Tice is a lot better defensively. Brad Stevens is there. I just think that the Celtics are also a team that could go deep. And if the Sixers had Jason Tatum, they were that close. At the number 1 overall pick, they could have selected a guy from Duke and Jason Tatum. If they had Tatum, then Toby would have never been signed, and the Sixers would probably maybe even have like a finals appearance now. They were that close if they selected Tatum.
Let me ask you this question.
Unfortunately, we'll never know.
What question?
Is Tatum almost married?
That's very important.
It's an important question.
Yep, he is very cerebral.
I think that the guy entering the draft is a little bit older than Tatum, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, almost being
Imagine
married.
if the Sixers had Jason.
But almost being married at 22. If I was a GM, it wouldn't
be divorced at 30.
It wouldn't be a deal breaker. But if you're married at 22, it means that you're already settling down.
It means you'll be divorced at 30.
You want quiet off the field.
So that's your thought process, that he would be not worried about chasing.
Also, if you're good at golf, I mean that's all, like Sam Bradford. Well, Sam Bradford was good at golf.
Mike Trout.
That Derry Rakes. Yeah, that solves that problem.
Well, Mike Trout, did you see?
Sorry.
Did you see that? Did you see that shot he hit Mike Trout, that moon ball? Mike Trout, though, I want him to become more marketable in baseball. Do you agree with that?
You can't get more marketable than the best player in the game for 5. But I don't think anybody. The problem is
people are not talking about it.
Well, the problem is nobody watches him play. I stay up, and in fact, that's why the baseball package mainly, because I'm an Angel fan. Aside from being a Mike Trout fan, I'm an Angel fan.
No, but if he had the swag of Harper, you would.
I just think he's in a market that's tough to get out of. He's not like he's not like he's not in your face kind of guy. He's just play baseball. Baseball is hurting right now.
And look at L.A. There's so many things going on in L.A. that even sports in general, football teams, they don't get a lot of buzz.
I bet Mookie Betts will be more popular.
L.A. is a Dodgers town, always will be, and the Angels will always be the bastard stepchild.
Second fiddle. I do love the Rocks in center field. They used to have Mike Scioscia, who was a really good man.
But I'm just talking about why that Trout will not be. And you know what? He's making enough money in salary, and he will. There's no need. You don't have to feel bad for him.
But
if
when
he
you
doesn't get
look
a lot
at,
of
you know who was more popular than Trout? They had that Japanese pitcher and hitter. That was very exciting.
Ohtani.
Yeah.
Ohtani.
Didn't he get hurt? Did he have some kind of
Tommy John surgery?
Tommy John surgery. But I think that's an interesting. When you see a pitcher and hitter, anything that's a little bit different, gets my attention.
I think that Aaron Judge, his stature at 6'5", makes him more marketable than Mike Trout's stature, because Judge is a giant amongst players.
I don't know. So you're saying because he's taller?
Yeah, it could make you more marketable if you look a little bit different.
The market's what makes you marketable. If Trout was in New York or Philly or Chicago, he would be more. He's already on everybody's radar. He would be more on everybody's radar. But because he's in LA,
games are late.
No, it's not just the games are late. Yeah, I mean that doesn't help because baseball fans are more on the West Coast, even though everybody likes to play on the East Coast. and everybody likes to play on the West Coast. I never understood that theory, but it's how it works.
Right.
It's just he's in a bad market. But he's also not a boisterous kind of guy. He's not the kind of guy that you're going to be like, oh, did you see what Mike Trout did today? See who he's dating today? See who he's
Have you ever been on the West Coast when like baseball starts at 4 in the afternoon and football starts at 9 a.m.? It's actually pretty wild.
No, I listen. I think it's great. I mean, imagine.
I remember we went to the L.A. Rams-Eagles game.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
But I'm just saying, imagine.
I'd be uncomfortable with that.
You know how excited.
Why? Going to the Coliseum because there's 100,000 people there?
You don't want to wake up at 10 a.m. when you're just
I'd watch
getting ready
it.
to
You
eat
kidding me?
Why
pancakes.
not?
He'll wake up at any hour.
there's
He wake
nothing
up.
better,
He wakes
like
up. Charlie wakes
British
up to
Open,
watch
5
the.
a.m.
Yeah, I think
Well,
the
you
British
need your
Open is great.
juices flowing, though.
His juices are flowing 24/7,
I-
man.
A late
As long as there's sports,
I got
Charlie's
no
up.
problem getting up at 3 a.m. to watch
Charlie
sports.
will stay up until 3
I'd
a.m.
rather be late. I'd rather the games
We
be
know.
late as possible.
We know. No, but seriously, my late morning on a weekend is 9 a.m. So
Do you like watching Yahoo a stream of a game in London at 9 o'clock in the morning and drinking hot tea to wake you up on Sunday?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
I
love
do.
the 9
It's
a.m.
different.
games.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
I know you're not up.
I'm ready for prime time, and
up at-
also
You're going to bed.
I'm up at 6 a.m.
You're
on
not
Sunday.
going to
Come
bed
in.
about
I
that
need
time.
some drinks. I need to get liquored
Wait
up
till
on a Sunday.
Wait till
for 8
Sunday
o'clock.
when you have a child and you're up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday at Dunkin' Donuts and you're back already. By
So
by
9,
7
3
a.m.,
hours
you're ready to
later,
go.
that's late. So Charlie said, you have a kid, 9 a.m.'s late after
I
you've been
wouldn't.
up.
I wouldn't draft me. I'm not married yet.
imagine having those. Well, yeah, imagine having those 1 o'clock games start at 10,
You're right.
and then there's 4 o'clock games starting at 1, and then the primetime game, which can go late. How many times have we walked into the
Always.
office tired watching a primetime game because it went late
do
or
you-
whatever?
Let
You're
me-
done.
well, during
You're done
baseball
football
season,
at
you don't
8.
want-
But let me ask you something. What do you do from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock? You wouldn't do anything. Your life would be so depressing during those prime
But during baseball
kidding me?
season, you don't watch those 1 o'clock Tuesday afternoon Tiger Oakland
I do
games?
like those. I like
I love.
matinees.
Is there anything better?
I like matinees. I was just trying. I don't like the early morning games. I'm not an early
You don't
morning
like
guy.
the
Beats no
early
game at
morning.
all.
You like the early morning period.
Yeah, just stop right
It's not a
there.
matter of the games.
No, I'm fighting you guys on this one. It was kind of like a good segment where I kind of took an opposing view.
That's great. I'm happy for. It's not an
Are you
opposing
happy
view
for me?
It's not an opposing view because we know you like to get.
Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me? Have you guys ever been to Hawaii to watch sports? That's what I'm curious about.
Well, no, I remember when the Phillies were in the playoffs one year. I was in Paris, so that was really challenging because you're 5.5 hours ahead, or 5 hours ahead, and that's. I mean, I remember in the middle of the night, like looking on my computer, like following the games. It's like literally the
I've
middle
seen
of the night.
that like a lot of times when I'm in England or France, and I'm waking up. It's tough because you got a family in one room in a hotel, and you're like it's 3 a.m. and you turn on the TV and it's too bright. You're trying to figure out how do you change the brightness on the TV. We all have these kind of challenges, right,
Okay,
Charlie?
Imagine being my wife when all I do is watch sport. Like all I do.
Luckily,
Like,
your wife is an all class athlete, so you
she
luckily
lived
married a
it.
girl who lived sports.
Yeah.
And she's probably very tolerant of your
Charlie,
sports
I'm
addiction.
actually going to give you a compliment, even though you're going to walk out when I was doing the impressions earlier tonight. A compliment to Charlie Bowles is I'm actually going to argue that Charlie doesn't just watch sports. He knows like every CSI show. Like a lot of reality shows like
I'm a
Survivor.
TV junkie too.
So
I got
that's
life.
Yeah,
So he's
You're
not just all
you're
sports.
not just all
He's
sports.
well rounded.
You're
Yeah,
cutting yourself
I'm
short. You're
I'm-
well
I'm
rounded.
I'm well couch potato rounded for sure. Like I watch SWAT, Navy SEALs, and all that. I could tell you any CSI show.
Cops.
Sure.
I love it.
Oh no, Chicago PD, my favorite show.
I actually have not watched any non-sports on TV in like a year and a half. Outside of
I watched like 16 shows.
I'll watch something on Netflix or go binge watch something after
Like
the
a
season's
movie?
over occasionally. Like that'll be something maybe I'll watch before I go to bed at night. Listen, I got 4 kids.
But not only
And I
that, you've got
follow
4 kids.
I don't know how
But
you
not
have
only
4
that,
kids. I don't
but
know
you've
how
got
it's
so
even
many
done.
as a producer of this beautiful Delco studio, and also writing. You're now writing sports articles. You're coordinating so many different people that come through Delco, including football stories. Big ups to Sean
this is
McMillan.
therapy.
Big ups
We're
to
boosting you.
Al Thompson and Sean McMillan, who's actually watching our stream.
Oh,
Great
thank you, Big
orthopedic
Al.
surgeon
And I'll be
from
here
Cherry
tomorrow
Hill,
night.
New Jersey.
I'll be here tomorrow night, right?
tomorrow 6 to 8.
How was you had what's his name, Ricky Ricardo?
Yeah, he was on there. He was on Football Stories.
How was he? Was he a nice guy?
Such a beast.
He's such a good dude.
I'd love to meet him in person.
He's easygoing.
Down there.
He knows what he's talking about. He just, I don't know. He is the Spanish Merrill Reese. Like he's lovable. He's knowledgeable. And he could probably go out and never pay for a beer in this
And you
town.
can listen to him talk for
Unless
a
you're
long
with me,
time.
because I have no idea who you're talking about.
Ricky
The
Ricardo's
Spanish
on
announcer for the
Comcast
Eagles
Sports
and-
now.
That's
and
the Eagles.
Yankee,
That's
yeah.
why the Eagles.
No, you're not a
and
big
the
Eagles
Yankees.
guy.
Wait, you don't
I
know
think,
Merrill Reese?
I know.
He
Of
knows
course I know.
Merrill
Reese.
I'm just not an Eagle fan.
I'll give you
No.
Merrill Reese time. Tackled by a host of Eagles. To the 50, to the 40, to the 30, to the 20. Touchdown Eagles. That was better, right?
That was better at the end.
And how about Mike Quick?
You want you
This game is sponsored by Hearst Potato Chips. Hearst Potato Chips.
I hope that Hearst gets a free plug here on Rover Sports.
I did not know you could do voices.
Was
is news to
that
me.
decent?
This
Mike
is all
Quick?
news to me that you could do these.
How would you rate this?
What's your best impression ever, though? If somebody asks you to do your best one, anything, actor,
We're going
whatever,
to end it off on your best impression.
got to end it off on the best one.
No, I want to suggest a TV show for Al to watch. Like I'd say
Listen,
Billions.
I have.
What show would you
1,000
have? You
people.
watched Secession?
Homeland.
No,
I've heard
Secession
that
on
one.
HBO.
Actually, the one thing I want to watch,
Homeland.
the new one I want to watch
Homeland's
is The
too long.
Outsider. That's what I want to watch.
The Outsider. Well, the
Chicago PD.
The,
Watch
the
it all
star
the time.
is really is a cool guy there from Australia.
And it's Stephen King. I've always been a fan of Stephen King.
How about Curb Your Enthusiasm? That's
I
our
actually
favorite
like
show
that
to watch.
It's a
Larry
show I kind
David.
of go back. It's
This is
like-
a great curve
It's
for
an
any of you
easy
people.
watch. Easy watch.
It's a great season and really funny.
I
And
don't want to spoil it.
we don't want to give any spoilers, but
It's amazing.
Curb is a good season.
Blue Bloods.
Do you watch Curb at all?
I do not. I watch.
Seinfeld.
I watch.
How is Homeland? Are you streaming Homeland this season?
I watch it every Sunday. Yeah.
So how-
it's been it's the last season. You know, it's been it's the last season. For
I actually did
Hawaii
it.
5-0, Criminal Minds. I'm losing a lot this year. I'm losing a lot of my
Yeah,
shows.
I actually we haven't watched any
Purpose.
Homeland.
Hawaii 5-0's done.
Oh no.
What's this like going?
Devastating.
The last time I watched Hawaii 5-0
that?
was Jack Lord.
No, Hawaii 5-0. I watched the second one's done this year. I'm very.
What's this like the
devastated.
4th or 5th season?
Yeah, it's devastating. The
My
contracts are
father
up.
loves
and-
that show. See, that's the thing is like, the only thing I watch because between the time I get home from work to the time my kids go to bed and like an hour past and I clean up and everything, it's 10 o'clock, so I can't get any of those shows in. I have to. If I really want to watch something, I got to DVR it and then watch it, binge
And it
watch it
takes
later.
effort to watch it week after
But
week.
I use my phone. And I'll watch the Flyers game on my phone. I probably watch more sports on my phone or iPad than I do on my 65-inch TV in my living room. It has more kid stuff on it.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I don't know how you had 4 kids.
So just want to in wrapping
I
the
can
show
explain
up.
to you after we're off
It's a
the
lot.
air.
No, it's a
Wrapping the
lot
show up, I
watch
want to
kids. Oh my God.
this hour went really
But
fast.
he's not married. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Undraftable.
I want to thank, of course,
Colin Cowherd right here.
Al
Spencer
Zafiri,
Cowherd.
the man behind the glass of this great studio,
Merle Reese.
and Merrill Reese, and Super Tuesday.
All the
To
impersonations.
everybody, good night
Lead us out.
and good sports.